Amanzi kwii-taps esizisebenzisayo ayaphela iveki ezimbini engekho nenyanga.
Nina Manzi, kause ngane no kause.
I'm at the moment in Bulungula in workshops that are being facilitated by Viva South Africa.
We work with a number of school and other local stakeholders to engage with students on water and sanitation and hygiene education.
With all these villages, they recently got their toilets in 2019.
Even 27 years later, after democracy in SA, in the rural villages, the concept of how people engage with water has stayed in the old ways.
They recently just got water too, and normally the taps are dry. People, they go to the river to fetch some water. You find cows, sheep, and everything drinking the same water that the humans are going to drink.
We're trying to balance between what's the behavior change and how do you improve the infrastructure, both in schools and at community level. And how do you make the students to be part of that process so they lead the change they want to see. The past 2 weeks has been an amazing experience for us where we've got a program called Art4WASH, and we've been working with 3 schools, creating awareness to water issues and engaging with students through arts. So in the first week, we were partnering up with Buzz Art, where they brought in a number of artists from SA, some from Uganda and Mozambique. We had a workshop with the students. We're working with a facilitator called Qawekazi, trying to understand how they engage with water, take that concept, interpret it onto the wall, which produce an amazing artwork.
I was able to work with the local team of Viva so that they can really find a way to facilitate the workshops. The approach is not like, oh, I am working with this child because they know nothing, as if they're an empty vessel. But instead, it's with the site where they have so much gem in them and abilities. It's just about tapping into that, helping them think things through that they probably know, but have never been given the opportunity to express it.
What we bought was just, I'm not a teacher, we're just here to chat, and quickly they were just in. The young kids, their main reason we don't use the toilet because they're scared of falling in.
The older kids, the dialogue shifted because it was around what it means for women when there's no water, the challenges around that, the fears around whether you have access to a toilet or going into a bush. What was nice in those conversations is that the boys were there and heard the voices of their classmates sharing, you know, we are uncomfortable and fear of being violated and being spaces that are not safe. It was amazing. One of the guys were like, oh, you know, it's good to know because it's important for us to find ways to protect and help you. And then the young women around their menstrual cycle, the importance of having water.
We had to communicate with the kids and find out what their views are on the topic of water and sanitation. Any challenges and issues they have in the community, in the schools, with the toilets and the water systems. They had to come up with their own comic character.
Kids gave us really good intel, and we took their stories to create a character.
The creativity came out, you know, and there's a guy who wanted to have a lion in this other arm and a snake on the other arm. So he wanted to be this strong person that no one messes with water or sanitation and everything is okay.
We are making a superhero that will be speaking to the community, encouraging the kids to, you know, play a role in saving water and also seeing water as a very important asset in our lives.
The beautiful thing about creating these amazing characters is because they're inspirations from the kids' stories. They can relate.
Because we are in Bulungula, in a Xhosa village, I'm bringing in traditional Xhosa elements like the calabash, a bucket to store water, umbaco, as the cape, you know, to give a sense of belonging because we are here. That when they see it and they see themselves.
Folk tales and folklore transfer knowledge. So we use that method to transfer this knowledge of water consciousness.
It's not our comic. We're just helping with the artistic process and kind of unveiling some of the issues that are there. So we wanted them to speak. Sometimes they were shy. A lot of translation involved. Many ideas came about. The kids are very creative. But the character that we are doing here is Nina Manzi, or Nina Mlambo. She's kind of like a representation of the water spirit. In one of the workshops, the kids voiced out that sometimes the elders have to pray for rain when there's drought. Sometimes it's too far to go get water, or the 20 liters are too heavy for the women sometimes. So she's kind of like that superhero woman that can help with kind of bringing the waters closer to the people. And she makes sure that the systems are working in place and there's rhythm in all the necessary water systems in the rivers, the lakes, nature, and the people are getting adequate water, clean water to drink.
If we focus on kids, then the future might be safer because the older people are already like giving up and it's so hard to change direction. So we make these illustration images so they can start imagining their own ideas, how they can preserve life.
While doing the workshop, as much as we're facing water and sanitation problems, there was also high rates of unemployment in the area. These kids struggle. I mean, you have to walk home long distances, you know. And going back at home, you actually have to be an adult, you know. You need to go fetch water at the river. You need to go collect your livestock. So they don't actually have time to be a kid. So when we got there, they wanted to play because playing is limited for them, you know. They had torn uniforms, some didn't have shoes. And the teacher would pull me aside and say, you see that one? She's struggling with the academics, you know. It's great that she's here.
In the second week, we worked with Flowers for Africa, and the idea there was to put the students forward as the artists.
Our main role is to engage children using public art as a medium for education, learning, and cultivating self-esteem within community. So they painted flowers on the one wall, and the other wall they painted fish and all the creatures that are dependent on water. And within the background of the walls, they painted in content and messages surrounding what they'd learned during the workshops.
To see the kids excited as well about creating their own paintings on the wall and having the freedom to paint was also amazing.
It's so calm, man. Here's the hand. Here's obviously the water coming out.
Ndiyavuya enhlizweni yami kuba nikwazi uzoba. Ndiyavuya ukufundiswa ngento benikayazi kuba amanzi acoceke siwaphathe kakuhle, acoceke kuze sikwazi nathi wasela singavumeli izilwanyana zihlale emanzini.
Ngiyosebenzisa ukuba xa kukho amanzi etepini bangawavuleli ahambe wona. Ngingabexela ukuba xa uhlamba impahla uze ungachitheli emanzini. Amanzi funeka ahlale ecocekile. Uhlambe izandla xa uphuma ngasendlini asese kufuneke futhi xa uzotya hlamba izandla ngoba kukho izifo ezikhoyo kwi-germs ngoku.
Development work is more than just ticking a box. We can come into a space believing that we get it, we know what we want to do, and it can clash because of cultural differences and understanding. And that's why it's very important to have local capacity building, but not in a form of, I'm building you because you know nothing, but it's like, I would like to complement what you have with some tools that you could possibly use that you can hand over and then let them adapt it to what talks to the community. When we do that, we can just multiply change.
The community artists really came in to learn a bit about our methodology and to see how they could apply it within their community moving forward.
My biggest highlight, seeing the local artists from week 1 to week 2 bloom out and evolve into these outgoing spirits, and that for me was number 1.
Ndifundile ubana ungakwazi ukutshintsha ingqondo zabantu ngendlela abacinga ngayo abanye abantu ngoba ke abanye abantu babelieve entweni ebonakalayo funeka kube khona into ebonakalayo uze balandele lo mthetho kufanele wenziwe.
There's a whole new now study that came out where it showed a disease that slows the kids down because they're drinking stagnant water and all of this. So these core things that are taking place and no one is looking at, we need to find ways of bringing them up and engaging with the whole community.
Kids don't have expectations, but they want you to follow through. If you say something, you have to say it through. And if you're that way, then you live in the memories forever.
At the end of the day, it doesn't matter where you live, the hygiene is still #1 priority for health.
The project, I think, made me think about a lot of things that I'm privileged with back at home. It's something that we can take for granted, like water, because we have it in our taps most of the time anyway. But you know, now with global warming, water situation is worsening, and we're realizing more and more that it's not forever, like it can run out.
Nina Manzi, Qawekazi, no, Qawekazi. No, Qawekazi, no, Nina Manzi, Qawekazi, no, Qawekazi. Qawekazi, no, Nina Manzi, Qawekazi, no, Qawekazi. Qawekazi, no, Nina Manzi, Qawekazi,